The champion you see right here on the screen is the fragment event for the month of November in Raid Shadow Legends. If you do events and tournaments, you will eventually have 100 fragments, enough to summon this champion for free, but it will require a lot of resources if you've been saving. In this video, we'll take a look at the champion skills and take a first impression at him to see if he's even worth your time. And I'll tell you right here on the Noob to Pro or my main account whether I'm going for this one or I'm skipping it. So based on this, you guys can decide for yourself whether this is one you want to go for or not. But first, on the 14th of November, there is an extra legendary event coming up. You know, one of those ones that says who is Sacred Shard gets a legendary, get one for free. Yes, so if you have some Sacred Shards saved up and you're close to Mercy, you can get one legendary, get one extra one for free. The second one does not count towards events and tournaments that are going on, or you won't even be charged silver for that. So, and you can continue to pull double for free. So that's what is coming up on 14th of November. But take note that there's also a 2x Ancient, I think this weekend. I'm not quite sure, but I think, yes, I think 2x Ancient is supposed to be this weekend. But for those going for this fusion, they want to save their shards and not go for any of these things that are coming up. So what is this champion going to be all about? What is his skills? What is his abilities? I'll first of all tell you what Raid have to say about him before I give you my own thoughts about his skill. This is what Raid has to say about him. Where is it? November the 16th, we are planning to launch a fragment event. We already knew it's a fragment, and his name is Ugir the... I'm not even going to say the last name. I'll let you guys tell me how to pronounce the last name below. But this champion, according to what they say, brings a lot to the arena, transferring and blocking buffs, removing buffs, and weakening your enemies, buffing your team, paired with accuracy aura in arena battles to ease using those effects. So it seems like an arena champion who is going to be a debuffer, removing enemies buffs and placing debuffs on them. Hopefully that's good enough. What makes this champion stand out? That's also what I'm thinking. They say is his passive skill. Once an enemy revives an ally, Ugir instantly activates the A2. So whenever the enemy just brings somebody back to life, he will instantly activate the A2. I'll read out the A2 and see. And then attacks all enemies, removes all buffs from them, and places weakened debuff on top of that. That is not a bad A2 if that's the A2. So when somebody comes to life, sometimes they come back to life and they have block damage on them. Sometimes they come back to life with continuous seal or anything. Some revivers brings a lot of buffs on the even ally attacks. I mean, ally protect. Sometimes some enemies get revived. They get that buff. Considering almost all revivers place some buffs, yes, on the revived champion, this passive skill might definitely come in handy. Low cooldown on the passive itself and the fact that it doesn't set the A2 on cooldown can be a factor. So the A2 can be used as a passive and it won't go on cooldown. That's good. Moreover, an interesting fact, if you look precisely at Ugir's design, you might notice that he wears somewhat similar to Python's scales and head. Yeah, I noticed that in the color team when it was spinning around. He does look kind of Python. Are you saying he's Python's brother? Let's see what else they have to say about him. So if the revive is produced by someone from Lizardmen faction, Ugir's passive skill triggers the A2. Its effects becomes irresistible. So if it's from Lizardmen, so he has a beef with Lizardmen. It's just Lizardmen. Important note, Ugir's passive skill is only triggered by active revive skills, not those passive revive skills like what's her name? Some people like maybe Lydia has a passive revive skill. So that's not what will trigger this one. It will be an active revive like Arbiter or Python that can trigger it. All right, so that's good to know. Or other passive revive skill. Okay, I think that's all they have to say about him. That's pretty detailed. Now we know the key point about this champion. Somebody who will do a bunch of debuffs, and then if somebody else on the enemy team gets revived, he will take a turn. All right, it's time for me to go and see what I have to say about him when I read his A1, A2, and all these other skills. So on the A1, This champion already know. Did I say what his name is? That's the full name right here. Ugir The Wyrmeater. Let's just say the meter. And HP based champion, spirit affinity from the faction from Orgrin Tribes faction. So you can already tell from the design. And yeah, cool design. Let's see what this champion is all about. A1 has a 80% chance of stealing a random buff from the enemy. That's a 100% chance to steal a random buff. Does it hit once? Or he only hit once. Also has a 80% chance of placing a block buff debuff on the enemy for 2 turns. That is a useful A1. It's unique. 100% chance of stealing. It doesn't just remove it, it steals it. That makes this champion a good champion on an A1. It will require a high amount of accuracy to make this happen though. Alright, on the A2, that's not a useless A1, I have to admit. So it doesn't say whether it steals a buff or not. He will most likely place his block buff debuff. That's good. 100% chance when you book it. That's a useful A1. Very, very useful. On the A2, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies. 100% chance when you book it. On a 3-turn cooldown, also has a 75% chance of placing weaken debuff for 2 turns. So that's removing all the buffs from all the enemies will require accuracy, of course, and then he's gonna place weaken. 100% chance of landing it. I don't know whether decreased defense would have been better in that place than weaken, but hey, you might already have somebody else doing decreased defense and he's coming there with weaken, which is not a bad debuff to have in PvE content. I don't know about PvP how useful weaken is, but maybe against bombs, weaken is very, very useful. All right, that's the A2, not a useless one. So this is the A2 that will be used whenever somebody comes back to life. He will just remove all the buffs they have and put weaken on them when they get revived. All right, on the A3, places increase accuracy buff on all allies for 2 turns. So he's going to buff himself before he even uses that A2. This champion will not be built with too much high accuracy if he already has increased accuracy. This will make him very, very able to remove debuff on a lot of enemies when you have increased accuracy, including tanks who are usually have high resistance, like some revivers like what's her name now, Duchess, or well, Mistrala Live Being can most likely not be debuffed even with increased accuracy, but you get what I mean. All right, that's a useful A3. It's on a 3-turn cooldown too. That's good, but that's not all. He also places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies whose defense is higher than or equal to their attack. So he's going to place increased defense on all allies whose defense is higher. Basically, anybody who needs defense, because some defensive based damage dealer are built with high defense and very, very low attack. So he will place increased defense on those champions. He will not place increased defense on champions whose attack is higher, right? Whose defense is higher than or equal to their attack. So if your Candraphone, your Foley, they will not get increased defense. He wants to buff the defense of tanky champions. Your HP based nukers, your defensive based nukers will have a lot of more HP and more defense. I mean more defense with this increased defense. So why is it not protecting increased attack champion? Okay, there's a second part to that skill. If an ally's attack is higher than their defense, places increased attack buff on them. This is awesome. He's been very, very smart. He's not placing increased defense on champions whose damage is based on attack. That is a very, very smart skill right here. This is the first time I'm seeing something like this. Well, some other champions have something similar, but this is what you probably want to start the battle with. Your defensive based champion will have increased defense. Your attack based champion will have increased attack. So this is a general all-round buffer before your nukers can now take a turn. I'm looking to use this skill in PvE the most. PvE the most. Now, that's not all about these champions. Let's scroll down to the passive and see whether it's going to make him even much better. It says whenever an enemy is revived, instantly activates Earth Punch, which is this A2. We already read it out. If an enemy is revived by a champion from the Lizardmen faction, the effects of Earth Punch cannot be resisted. So remember what I talked about? He cannot debuff some champions like Mithrala Life Bane who have high resistance, or somebody who is probably in Stone Skin. Does that mean this champion can actually remove Stone Skin? It still has to do with that 50-50. But at least it doesn't need the accuracy check if they are from Lizardmen faction that was revived. So it doesn't just remove the buffs from the champions who were revived. It's going to do it for everybody. Remember that A2 is an AoE skill. So let's say Arbiter revives the damage dealer that just went down. He's going to use this A2 for everybody on the enemy team, removing all buffs that they have. Just like Duchess will revive one person, but she will place that perfect veil on every other person who was not even dead. That pisses me off. So he's just going to remove all the buffs that Duchess just placed, especially if the champion that was revived, right? A champion from the Lizardmen. If an enemy is revived by a champion from the Lizardmen. No, it's not the reviving champion. It's the champion that does the revive. So he's anti Lizardmen faction revivers. So he's gonna use this cannot be resisted only effect only when the person that did the revive, like Python, is from the Lizardmen. So they don't want you to use Python anymore in the arena. That's a useful passive, I tell you. But it's on a 1 turn cooldown when you spend books on it. So it's not gonna happen every time. You have to wait for at least 1 turn. This passive effect will only activate when an enemy is revived using active skills. Yes, instantly activating Earth Punch will not place the skill on cooldown. Amazing. If there are multiple champions on this team with this skill, only one will activate. He has an increased ally accuracy aura in arena battles by 70, which is huge right there. So that's do I even want to say that name? Somebody tell me how this is pronounced. Why I don't know how it's pronounced. Wyrmeater. Wyrmeater. But I'm just going to call him Ugir or something like that. For now, he looks like a champion who will be useful for PvE. You know why I say PvE? Because a lot of people will look at this champion and immediately say he's a ship magnet. That's the truth. He is a ship magnet because any champion right here who is going to be placing a bunch of debuffs on the enemies or using accuracy, he's just going to get shipped. In arena, high-end arena, even low-end arena these days are getting a lot of ship. So he is a ship magnet. That's why I'm not looking forward to using him in PvP. I'm looking forward to using this champion in content that requires increased accuracy, requires increased attack, requires increased defense, while removing the buffs of the enemy, which is the Hydra. That's what I'm thinking about. Even if he's not a reviver and he will not be going against Lizardmen faction enemies that has a reviving content like that, it's still a viable candidate for increasing the accuracy of your champions and buffing them at the same time. No healing in any of his skill, but it brings a weaken and it can also place block and buff debuff. So this is not a fusion. I'm beginning to give you my observation about this champion right now. This is not a fusion that is not skippable. This, from me, it's just looking like a normal Madam series. It's just looking like a normal any debuffer you can think of in raid who can remove all the buffs on the enemy. Like what's her name now? Mighty Uko. All those people that can do the same thing like this. There's one man thinking about. You know them. Anybody that can remove the buff on the enemies and place block buff debuff on them, or somebody that can place some debuff on the enemies like weaken, is not a champion that you look at and say, I must go for this one. This is a totally skippable fusion. Do we see his base speed or anything? Not yet. Do we see his total stats? We can already tell this is not a damage dealing champion. You can already tell this is not a damage dealing champion. It seems like he's here to just help your other allies do some more damage and stay alive longer. And yeah, I think people will most likely put this on a stun set. His A1 is not an AoE, but his A2, which will most likely be useful a lot in battle. It doesn't only activate, remember, it's not just when Lizardmen faction people are alive and they are doing revives. It's only whenever an enemy is revived, instantly activates it. So that makes him a good candidate, at least for a stun set. That's what I'm thinking, that he's going to use this A2 a lot in battle. but that assumes you're gonna kill enemies. Most people come into the battle and kill the reviver first. I don't know who kills the damage dealer before killing the reviver. You target that Duchess, you target that Arbiter, you target that Mighty Uko and that Python. That's who you're supposed to kill first in the arena. So I don't know who is killing the damage dealers before killing the reviver. So this thinking that he will get that cannot be resisted to activate it, or this A2 to be activated in PvP is kind of a weird thinking. But I guess you could go first teams. I mean, teams that you are going first, and then use this champion for that type of team, maybe even in live arena. Let me know why you think this champion will shine the most, PvP or PvE. For me, I'm looking forward to using this champion in PvE. Now, the noob to pro perspective about after looking at champions like this will be good for my faction wars. That is the only thing the noob to pro is thinking about, because we're looking for Orgrin Tribes faction champions to help us build that faction. And it seems like it's going to be a perfect candidate for that, increasing our accuracy while increasing our defense and our attack. So this is what I need, I think, to help me. One of the first champions I'll have in the Orgrin Tribes faction, that will be a legendary, which will make that faction war extremely easy, because we're still trying to get Lydia on that account as our goal, ultimate goal on that account. So the noob to pro will be going for this fusion. I prepared my resources. I'm preparing my silver. I don't have sacred shards. I don't, but I do have a lot of ancient shards. So that means this weekend that is coming up, the noob to pro might not be pulling ancient shards. That's it. Because this champion seems like it's not one that the noob to pro wants to miss out on, because it's our only Orgrin Tribes faction legendary that we'll have so far. That's the only reason. It's not like I want to use him in the Hydra. It's not like I want to use him in PvP. It's not like I want to use him in Clan Boss. No. Demon Lord. No. I'm not looking forward to using him anywhere, not even in my dungeon teams. All those teams are fine. It just seems like a perfect candidate for faction wars. And if you're an endgame player, you're thinking, you've already beaten faction war, what do I need this champion for? You probably don't. You already have what's her name? I'll just say a Madame Ceres. If you have a Madame Ceres, you don't need this champion, because his A2 is the only thing you need in battle. And when you have a lot of accuracy on your Madame Ceres, she just goes zoop, removes all debuff from the enemies, and you're fine. Although this is on a 3-turn cooldown, while I think our own is on a 4-turn cooldown. So I'm not trying to compare him with other champions. I'm just saying there are champions who do buff stripping already in raid. If you have them, you don't need this. I'll end it right here and see what others have to say about this champion. And whenever we see him in test battles, in live raid test servers, we'll be able to see whether truly he's worth going for or worth skipping. For now, this is my initial thought about this champion, Ugir. Welcome. My noob to pro will attempt this fusion because it's a fragment fusion. It's not an old school fusion. This is a fragment event. We're hoping it will be easier, and hopefully they don't make us go for summon rush and champion chase, because I only have like ancient shards saved up. Hopefully I can use that for one. And I also have my what do you call this thing now, fragments from Timmy the Fool saved up. So that's another reason to go for this one. For champion chase, I can summon Timmy the Fool, which is gonna make it easier for me. So noob to pro is excited to go for this one, at least for faction war reasons. Let me know in the comments if you'll be going for him, or you think this is a total waste of time. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, if you don't have enough resources, skip this fusion. We are hoping the next one will be the one that is unskippable, the one that will be an old school fusion, the one that will be the game changer besides the earlier ones we have in the year. This is not one that is going to be game changing for a lot of older players. Like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.